Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in.
Let's take it to Tampa Bay. This is a hot team. They're 3-1. They beat my Detroit Lions in Ford Field. I'm still a little beat up about it, but whatever. We'll take care of Seattle tomorrow, and I'll be on the up and up. But Tampa Bay got it done against Philly, and Philly's beat up right now. They're dealing with that, no Lane Johnson, no A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith got absolutely smoked last week. Hopefully he's okay. This team was beat up coming to this game, and Tampa Bay took care of them. Your thoughts on Tampa Bay? But before we get to the game, I want to talk about some comments that Baker made prior to this game. I mean, you played with Tom Brady for a little bit, your last season in the league. Baker said that everyone was stressed out with Tom, and it was his job to bring back the joy of football. Tom Brady's response: stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. Richard, your thought on this exchange here?
Well, both of them spoke facts. It's perspective. Everything's perspective. Baker's playing some really good football right now, and he's a different kind of leader than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a really fun guy. He's not some dictator in a locker room, but he is a guy that holds everybody to a high standard and holds his receivers to a high standard, his offensive line, his coaches, his offensive coordinator, his training staff, everybody in the building. And sure, that's going to be stressful. But he's giving you that kind of performance. He's giving you that kind of effort where you got to deal with a little bit of stressful. He brought a ring to Tampa Bay when at a time they didn't have a lot of hope. I don't think their fan base, I don't think their players necessarily thought that they had the team to win a Super Bowl when he was able to run through the playoffs as a wild card team, go to different stadiums and win. They beat Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game, and then played a really tough Super Bowl game against Patrick Mahomes. And that defense played really good, but a bunch of young players, a bunch of guys who hadn't had a lot of playoff success played at a high level. And that's not because of Tom Brady. They stepped up and elevated in the moment. Antoine Winfield Jr., everybody remembers the Tyreek Hill, the two fingers. But he's not wrong. Like Baker, if you walked into the building and everybody was stressed, but they got rings on their fingers, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the stress is what they need. Maybe that's the kick in the butt they need, because that pushed them to where they needed to go. Because the difference between a Super Bowl championship team and just a good team is inches, Mitchell. It's details. It's attention to detail. And Tom was incredible at those things. He made sure. I mean, when you talk about getting done with a football game, you fly back the next night or the same night. You get on the bus right after the game, you drive to the airport, you get on the plane. That night, Tom Brady has his computer with all the games for the team we're going to play loaded, everything he wants, all his notes, and he's sitting there game planning for the next week. He's not waiting a moment, Mitchell. He's not. So if he's holding everybody else to that standard, he's holding himself to an even higher standard. So I'm not mad either way. Both of them are right. But Tom has 7 rings, and he's saying, I got 7 for a reason, Baker. You want to get one? Maybe fun is not the right word we want to use right now. Even though you're having fun and you're doing a great job with this offense, had a heck of a game. Let's not take anything away from Baker Mayfield. He's 30 of 47, 347, 2 touchdowns, and he ran one in. He looks like he's having a good time. He looks like he's a great fit in Tampa Bay. But if nobody has more fun if you ain't getting a ring. You get put out in the playoffs or you go home after the first round, I guarantee you look in that locker room and nobody's going to be having fun.
Richard, prior to this game, C.J. Gardner-Johnson put a little bulletin board material out there saying, I'm putting belt to ass. Safe to say that did not happen for the Philadelphia Eagles. When CJ was in Detroit, he was known for this kind of smack talking. And, frankly, it kind of wore fans thin without that production to back it. And I know he's earned, a name for himself in Philly. And obviously he had a great career before that with the Saints. But Richard, having a teammate that vocalizes something like this pregame, like what is your thoughts? Like, is that something you're just saying, hey, just shh, or do you welcome that?
It depends. Everybody's different, and I don't think we have many times where we said anything pregame because it's not worth it. But usually, I mean, you feel good about it. You feel good as a team. You're not scared. You don't play this game if you don't have the confidence and to bow up and say, yeah, we're about that. We're about what he said we're about. You know, it's not like he guaranteed a win or he said, hey, you know, we're about to blow him out. I think they knew it was a dogfight, but he showed confidence in himself and his teammates. But for some guys, I guarantee you it rubbed them the wrong way. For some, you know, guys who don't speak a lot, who let their plays speak, I'm sure it rubbed them the wrong way. And especially when you go into that game and you lose in the way they lost, in the fashion in which they lost, then internally there becomes a little bit of discord, whether it's offense versus defense, whether it's other guys on the defense who are playing at a high level who are just like, bro, that's enough. You're a playmaker in this league, and CJ Gardner Johnson has made plays during his time in this league and deserves credit. Let's not sit here and act like he's some kind of bum or something. He's not. He's a guy who's made plays. You know, he's missed some tackles this year, and you know, people have gone overboard trying to criticize him just because he's a guy who talks a lot. But you got to back things like that up. If you say that and lose, then your word starts to count for less. Then it's, hey, the next time you say something, it's kind of falling on deaf ears, or you might see some other players like, hey, bro, shut up, man. That's enough. Like, hey, you're doing too much. Or the head coach might say, hey, CJ, let's stay out of the media this week because we need to get back on track. We were coming off a win. Sure, you feel good. But when we lose a game in the way we lost, it wasn't as close as the score looks. You know, obviously, Keely Ringo returned the 2-point conversion, 70 yards. Good friend of mine. Full play, but this game wasn't even this close. Jalen Hurts had one of his worst games of the season. And I mean, without your two top weapons, any quarterback without the two top receivers that you expected to have when you start the season, I don't care which team it is, you're going to struggle, except maybe Patrick Mahomes, because it doesn't seem to matter for him. Or Josh Allen right now. Josh Allen is everybody eats, putting the ball wherever the open guy, wherever the offense, wherever the rhythm takes him, that's where he's putting it. But right now, Hurts has had 27 turnovers in 22 games. That's an issue. And I know we just talked about Patrick Mahomes and like, hey, it's not an issue, but it's only an issue when you start to lose. And again, Patrick Mahomes is in a different category of criticism than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to be able to play better. This offensive line is so banged up right now. They used to be obviously one of the best offensive lines in football, and it was non-negotiable, it was non-debatable. You could not debate that. When they had Jason Kelsey, they had Lane Johnson, they have all these guys that you're like Landon Dickerson. You got guys where you feel good that, oh, they're gonna bulldoze people similar to your Detroit Lions and the offensive line they put together with Ragnow and Decker and Panay Sewell. But they're banged up right now, and he's getting more pressure than he has in the past. Levante David had a sack, forced fumble in this game, 2 sacks. Vita Vea had a sack, and they ran into situations where they were goal to goal, ran the ball, and Vita Vea and his defensive line just said no. Hey, no, no, again and again and again, and even the tush push, they got a touchdown off of it. But again, it's not as consistent as it once was when they had Jason Kelsey and he was getting that push, and it was almost automatic. It's not as automatic as it once was, and you're just not seeing the same consistency from this team. Saquon Barkley has been awesome. He's been awesome. He's been everything I think they would have expected him to be. And I think, you know, for a lot of it, he won that game last week against New Orleans. You know, obviously there was some yardage thrown by Jalen Hurts, but without that big play by Saquon Barkley, I don't think they win that game. And you're just not seeing them put up the points they have in the past, and you wonder what it is. The new OC defensively, they're giving up points. Have they just not caught on to Vic's scheme? Because last week they were able to hold the Saints down. This week they give up 33 points. And so something has to give. Something has to give. It's unacceptable to only score 16 points and to give up 33 points. This is a really talented team, and they got to figure out what's wrong. Now, give credit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Todd Bowles. This team has played together for a long time. They have the pieces, 2 elite receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and they're going to give teams problems. Mike Evans got another touchdown, 8 catches for 94 yards. Chris Godwin caught a number of crucial third downs throughout the game. And then defensively, Vita Vea, Levante David. Those are still names you need to know. Those are still names that will have impact every single time, and they're doing it again. Todd Bowles is going to give you a tough scheme to deal with. Mike Evans became the Bucs' all-time leading scorer, so congratulations to him, passing Martin Gramatica. That's incredible. Congratulations, Mike. The Eagles have a bye. The Bucs are with us this Thursday at 7 p.m. on Prime Video. We'll be in Atlanta to see if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield can continue this hot streak in Atlanta.
And Richard, shout out to Baker Mayfield. He's this week's player in prime time, brought to you by our friends and partners over at Breitling. Baker Mayfield went off 30 for 47, 347 yards, 2 touchdowns. And like you said, he got Mike Evans involved early and often. Baker Mayfield, I don't think a whole lot of folks saw this coming. I mean, he had his moments in Cleveland. He was cast away. Some argued it, they went in favor to Deshaun Watson. Then he goes to the Rams and has his moments of flair, bringing them back against the Raiders a couple years back. And then he goes to the Bucs and turns his career around. And like you said, it's about the right situation for some of these quarterbacks. It seems that Baker Mayfield has found his right situation, and now he's our honoree for players in prime time, brought to you by Breitling. Richard, I'm going to be rocking my Breitling tomorrow on Monday Night Football, showcasing this bad boy as I go to Ford Field, to take on the Seattle Seahawks. We got to thank you viewers, though. I mean, the fact that we have these partners, like Breitling, like Uber Eats, like Ovation, this goes to show, the hard work that Richard's put into this. And we really, really appreciate all of you guys tuning in from across the country. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, Breitling's player in prime time.